Every one of us is tasked with bringing the world to perfection. This week's Parsha reveals a secret that helps us do just that. Parashah Vayishlach contains the root of and solution to a problem that has plagued the Jewish people for thousands of years. In classic Torah fashion, the Parsha describes the solution before the problem. So let's begin there. We read about Yaakov about to meet Esav after 20 plus years. The last time they were together, Esav swore to kill Yaakov. The Parsha describes the preparation that Yaakov takes before that meeting. In a famous commentary, we see that Yaakov engages in three types of this preparation. He sends gifts to Esav, diplomacy. He prepares his camp for an attack, military preparation. And finally, he prays, spiritual preparation. Chaverim, we are in the midst of an encounter with the Esav of our generation. There are those in the Jewish world who say the only solution is through diplomacy. There are others who say the only solution is through military efforts. And there are still those who say the only solution is via prayer and Torah learning. I confidently say, with this week's Parsha as my supporting document, all three of these groups are wrong. The solution is to follow Yaakov's model and engage in all three of these activities. That is my challenge to you this week. Break out of the black and white thinking that one of these forms of preparation is the right one. Reality is more nuanced. Reality requires elements of all three. That's the solution presented in the Parsha. But what's the actual problem? After describing Yaakov's preparation, the Torah says, Yaakov was left alone and wrestled with a man until the break of dawn. After fighting to a stalemate, Yaakov asks, divulge your name. And the man, or angel, refuses. What's this all about? Who was it that Yaakov was wrestling with? Why did they refuse to divulge their name? Rashi teaches that this was the ministering angel of Esav. But perhaps another reading of that Rashi could say that this was the ministering angel of anti-Semitism. This battle is the origin and root of the plague of anti-Semitism that we have been wrestling with for thousands of years. Why did the angel refuse to reveal their name? Because it doesn't have a name, or at least not a single name. The name and face of anti-Semitism changes from generation to generation. Sometimes it's named communism, sometimes it's named capitalism. Sometimes it's from the left, other times it's from the right. Sometimes it's from the preachers of other religions, sometimes from the halls of academia. The name changes, but the plague remains. But that's not all we learned from this episode. The fight doesn't end with a decisive victory for Yaakov. The story leaves us with an uneasy feeling that this wrestling match is not over, and we will meet this nemesis again. That is the other reality of anti-Semitism. Not only does it take on new names and faces, but it keeps coming back. It may disappear when the dawn breaks, but it comes back at some future nightfall. But despite its persistence and shape-shifting, the children of Israel always prevail. We are here outlasting every incarnation of the plague of anti-Semitism, and we will continue to wrestle with every new manifestation, and we will overcome. How do we overcome? By following Yaakov's three-part model. Diplomacy, we need friends and allies anywhere we can get them. Military, we need to fight when fighting is called for. And of course, prayer, because we know that true salvation comes from Hashem. That's the classic commentary. I'm not breaking any new ground with that, but let me add another layer. It's important to note that Yaakov didn't send 1/3 of his children to engage in the diplomacy, 1/3 to prepare for battle, and 1/3 to go learn in the yeshiva. Yaakov did all three of those things. It's wonderful that we have segments of the Jewish world engaged in each of these forms of this preparation. At the aggregate level, the Jewish people are following Yaakov's model, but the true power comes when we apply that at the individual level. The ideal are those who serve in the IDF and go into battle armed not only with their IDF-issued arms, but with their tefillin and their sephorim. The ideal is those soldiers who in the midst of a battle in Gaza find time to put on tefillin every day. Those who insist on taking a book of Psalms with them or a book of a Talmud to learn with their unit between firefights and make a siyum right there in the middle of a battlefield. That is the model of Yaakov that each one of us should try to follow. May Hashem bless all those physically defending Israel and the Jewish people by serving the IDF. May Hashem bless all those engaging in diplomatic efforts on behalf of Israel and the Jewish people. May Hashem bless all those engaged in Torah learning and prayer, spiritually defending Israel and the Jewish people. But may Hashem give a special extra bracha to those following in Yaakov's example by engaging in all three of those at once. That is one thing we can learn from this week's Parsha. How will you step up this week to bring the world a little closer to perfection? Shabbat Shalom and Am Yisroel Chai.